text Josh real quick and ask him.
I mean, my problem is I didn't rent the school for Sunday. You can mention my name, but. I'm the alternate. Who's the ICE delegate? I just remembered. So you're the delegate?
I am. I got my, in my packet, I got my little delegate button and my delegate ribbon. Right, know me, Margie, and,
Good.
probably still have some questions, or maybe like next week before we go, I may. Oh, it's not. It'll be interesting. For the delegates.
Yeah, I got mine too. I was just telling Steve that they called me from Jackie last week and asked me, since I'm an alternate, would I serve as the, I can't really sure what they call it, like the official testing person that watches over the test, the employees that do all the checking and all.
Oh, that's an important job.
So I said I would. I said, can I do it on a Thursday?
It does.
There's so much information on that week. I just read a little bit every day because I'm like, yeah. So I'm super excited. It's gonna be weird now.
You told me somebody was coming in. Shorts and boots.
Let's hope I never get on her.
I watched this go on for like 3 minutes and it's all enough food.
We actually call it pizza.
And I go, you're lucky they didn't use that one, because you're picking up and talking about.
Oh, that's really, really good. That is really good.
So just funny the details of things that were different.
Did he like it? Did he enjoy it?
He did, he said he come back, he wants to see a football game.
I call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening to everybody. I'm going to read a quick statement about open forums. The board welcomes and appreciates comments and input from the community. Open forum is provided at each meeting to allow the public to address the board. There will be 2 open forums tonight. Open forum number 1 to hear requests regarding agenda items only. Open forum 2 is to hear requests or make comments regarding non-agenda items and will be heard at the end of the meeting. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. The speaker should identify his or her name, group affiliation if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located on the table in the entry hall. Mr. Chapman, any comments?
No comments, but we do have a couple of clarifications regarding questions asked by the board.
Okay.
So the first thing you have at your place is a copy of the COVID dashboard. And so you have, if you look at the landscape piece here, you're going to see that you have the information from 9/6 through 9/12. But in actuality, what happens is the information is reported on Friday at 4 p.m. Is that correct, Joy? So what you have in addition to that is the information that picked up the cases that were reported to us from the weekend through noon today. And so you can see we have 42 student cases that were reported to us over, and that includes over the weekend and through noon today. And then we have 6 staff member cases. Other than that, the numbers that are reflected on the other piece of paper, the landscape piece, will be those numbers for last week, beginning with Monday of last week through 4 o'clock Friday of last week. So we did have a request for that information. In addition, we had some requests for follow-up information on Senate Bill 15, so I wanted to spend just a moment. I placed in your Friday update information about the caveats that are there for Senate Bill 15, that TEA has made some real clarification in terms of what it's going to take in order to be able to draw average daily attendance. So what's reported in the news is that the legislature passed Senate Bill 15, virtual learning, for every school district. Well, that is true. You can offer virtual learning, but if you're going to receive funding, it can only be no more than 10% of your student enrollment. There is a requirement that the student has to have taken and passed STAR. The student, I think there's a attendance piece that's a part of that as well. There are a number of caveats because what the agency is recognizing is that remote learning is not necessarily the best form of instruction for all students. So they're trying to help us know what we need to be looking for in order to be able to direct those students to remote learning. So just wanted to clarify that. I think I put the TEA guidelines in your Friday update, but in case you didn't have a chance to see those, just wanted to clarify because again, in the news, it makes it sound like virtual learning was funded for all students who wanted to move to virtual learning, and that is not true. You do have to meet those criteria. And that was all I had for clarification.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anything for open forum number 1? We do not, okay. We are going to skip over the first closed session and move right into the regular agenda items. See, item 6.01, TASB Board Policy Update 117, revisions to localized policy.
So I have submitted all the documents to you. You notice that there are very few local policies that we actually have any say in, because certainly our legal policy is covered in a different agenda item or statute. But we, as I said in the Friday update 2 weeks ago, we do work with the policy owners to make sure we are in compliance with all of these and to communicate these. And then once board policies are approved, we send all of these out to the entire district. But are there any questions on the information provided?
Any questions on the local update to 117? Okay, revision to localized policies BE and BED. Any questions on that?
Are there any questions?
Okay, we're ready for financial statements. Mr. Williams. All on your own.
All on my own. Okay. You getting it up there? Okay, while she's getting that up on the screen, what I have for you is the July 31st, 2021 financial statements for ending July 31st. We're going to start off with the general fund budget in a minute. We'll get to it in a second. Oh, you're fine. There we go. Okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger. How's that? You see that? Okay, you can see the general fund as of July 31st, we have a fund balance of $166,611,213. That is, we have revenues over expenditures, $44,445,692. And then as we move down into the detail of the general fund, you can see the activity for July 31. We collected just shy of $5 million right up there in tax collection. So we are at 102% of what we budgeted for tax collection. So that's great. Moving down to the state program revenues, you can see that that we're still running a little short there, but most of that is due to the on behalf, which will be booked in next month or in August, which we will go over that later on when those reports are presented. All in all, our revenues are looking really good. We should be just fine. Hit our targeted revenue projection. And then looking at on the expenditure side of things, everything looks just pretty much where it should be there. Nothing out of the ordinary. Again, you can see there at the bottom of the expenditure. Let me get there. Yep, back. You can see the revenues over projections of $44,445,692. Any questions on the general fund piece? Okay, we're going to move next to the wrestler report. As you know, our payroll generally runs about 87%. I think you've heard us say that, or David say that in the months I've been here. It's running about 89% due to we've spent lower in the other categories, so it's pushing that number up to a percentage up a little higher. But that's right on track. We're still running below the 9/12 of the year, which would be 92%. So good shape there. Utilities would be our next biggest factor, the $3.291 million there you see there. And then the other big factor would be instructional supplies of $2.267 million. So unless you have any questions there, I'm going to move to the next. Food service. Food service continues to do really well. We have a fund balance of $6,024,883. That's equates to revenues over expenditures of $1,163,808. And I think you've heard it enough before. I mean, we're, even with our lower participation last year, because we were able to save money by not replacing positions and stuff, which we're still trying to replace. And I don't know exactly where we're at on that, because Mariella wasn't here today, so I wasn't able to get with her on that. Do you know, Cicely, how many people were still short in food service? Nope, okay. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the debt service while she's looking that up, unless you have some questions on food service.
Okay, for CNS,
Yes, CNS.
36 openings, and there are 13 new hires in process this
Okay. So we're gaining some ground there. So hopefully we can get back to a normal routine in that area. Thank you, Cicely.
So are the openings before the new hires or after the new hires?
I believe that's after, yes.
So, yeah, still struggling there, still struggling in custodial, still struggling in bus drivers, the whole nine.
Maintenance and operations, we have 23 custodial openings, 2 plumbers, 1 district monitor, and 1 playground specialist.
Okay. So we're continuing to do what we can do there, and of course, we'll bring some stuff probably at the next meeting that maybe will help alleviate some of that. Moving to the debt service fund, we have a fund balance of $41,695,936. Of course, with debt service, you have no revenues unless you're selling bonds. So since we're not selling bonds, our revenues are 29 million. No, excuse me, that I'm on the wrong report. Debt service, not bonds. Our debt service is 29,627,011. But it still doesn't reflect our August 15th payment that will come out, that will be reflected on next month's financials, and it's 28 million-ish. So, but we've got, like I say, plenty of excess there to make those payments. So. Pre-K, CK budget, that one, as we talked about earlier in the year, due to the lack of participation, it continues to go down as we pay people over the summer for that. So we are currently at a fund balance of $164,547, but our expenses are in excess of revenue in the amount of $87,376. But that should substantially improve this for the current school year, as I believe that's getting back on track. Okay, it does. I forget to roll my finger over the deal. Okay, moving into the other special revenue funds. These funds, of course, these make up local, state, federal funds. They're more just a in and out type fund. They are meant to be self-sufficient, so they basically what comes in, we budget what grants we get in those funds, and then we spend as we need to. Currently, you can see year to date we're $737,281 ahead. 17, I think. Yes. Sorry. Still getting used to talking and navigating at the same time. All right. The Campus Activity Fund, as we said last month, that is not much, no revenue's been able to put into that fund. There were some expenditures that have come out of it, but that should pick back up this school year too. It's currently a debt service of $2,974,604, and the expenditures are $183,471 over revenues. Capital Projects Funds, looking at the 2018 bond, we're at fund balance of $35,376,583. This is where I was going a while ago. We don't, since we're not selling bonds, we don't have revenues here, so, revenue increases, so that the expenses, will discontinue to eat away at what we have in the fund balance there. Expenses as of July 31st, $16,332,905. That's, for the various projects we've done out of that. Arbor Creek, Trinity Lakes, Euless, Junior High, Bedford, Harwood, Central, Hurst, and of course, we're currently working on the West Hurst conversion as right now. So if there's no questions there, looking at the capital projects, locally defined capital projects fund, that has a balance of $52,012,939. Same thing there since we're not, the board, I believe, puts money into that as we are able to support that fund. So there's no revenues coming into that one either just yet, but we have expenses over revenues of $14,762,626, and I believe that's all on Oakwood Terrace, and as we continue to finish up that project. And I believe that's it for your financials. Any questions on any of that?
Any questions on financials? Okay. Next item is cabling and audiovisual equipment for support staff building at West Hurst.
Okay, this is exactly what it says. The cabling for the renovation we're doing at West Hurst, that is coming out of the 2018 bond funds, but it's coming out of the technology portion that was assigned to technology, because what they'll do is sell shorter term bonds for those technology projects, same as buses, and that's where those funds are coming from. That is the amount of, where's the total? 184,011.
That's the 209,763.
209,763. Excuse me.
All right. Any questions on the cabling purchase? Computer replacements.
Computer replacements
Any
are.
questions on the computer replacements?
Any questions there?
Okay. Interpretation and translation services. Item 6.06. Anybody have any questions on this item?
I have a question just on how do we get charged for these services? It's a not to exceed amount of $100,000. Do we eat away at the $100,000 as we go?
Yes, we have a price list, so let me just give you that way you can see the pricing,
Thank you.
and this gives you the pricing and the different languages. So the process, this all runs through the family engagement, and so the process is if there's a request for translation, Kelly Rawl verifies that with the principal, and then she monitors every process. So before it occurs, Kelly has to sign off on it, and then we'll authorize that translation.
So what are we translating? Like
This
instruction or directions that maybe the parents need?
And
questions they have.
Yeah, we can do a lot of the translations with our family engagement staff, but sometimes if we have additional pieces or large pieces, they'll send it off to be translated. So some of it could be curriculum materials, but this company will also provide translation right on the phone. And so we need to do a parent conference. We have a language that we don't have someone who can translate. This company will come on and then provide that translation for us.
Interesting.
So they can do both conversation and any written translations that we need. And they'll do proofing also.
So how do they know, is the conversation transcribed and that's how we know?
Well, they'll do a conversation, they'll go live with us on a video chat. Otherwise, if we give them like a piece of curriculum material, a new process, we can send that to them, and then they'll translate that for us.
Okay, any further questions?
How much is this used?
We started using this last year. It's used fairly often, especially for the languages where we don't have in-house people to do the translations. Because of some of the availability of ESSER money, though, we're hoping that we can get additional materials translated while we have the availability of the ESSER funds.
Is it mostly like in counseling when a kid checks into school and they can't speak English?
Well, that's one of their first stops because now that we have the testing center, those kids will go over to the Family Engagement Testing Center over at FEW, and then we'll translate. But we have French, Spanish, Arabic, but those are our predominant languages. If we get beyond that, then we may have to do a live video chat.
Is the board good? All right. 2021-2022 District Improvement Plan. Is anyone going to speak to this, or are we just taking any questions? Any questions on this item? Communities and Schools Addendum. Any questions?
The only question I had on this, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly, that this is adding one person that will kind of fill in wherever needed in the whole district. It's not a specific campus or a specific.
Because we saw additional need, we actually have assigned them. So this person will be assigned, their predominant location is Bedford Junior High and Hurst Junior High, and they will office out of those two locations. But if we find that we do need additional support at any of the other campuses, then we can assign them a day off of that. But as we saw the mental health counselors filling up, we needed to add one more additional person to provide those services.
Organizations listed as extracurricular activities under Chapter 19 of Texas Administration Code. Any questions on that?
Any new ones?
Poor Joe, just stay there.
Yes, we have 3 new ones this year. We have added the GAP, which is the German-American Partnership Program. Yes, thank you. Because we've done a lot with that for a number of years. It started with Trinity. Bell is on board now also. So that's been a great partner. But we hadn't added it to the list. But because the kids do the travel when we can travel, we wanted to add them. Junior World Affairs Council, we are members of the World Affairs Council. And they do have opportunities for the kids to attend some of these programs. So we wanted to add that. And then we also added Tribute to Valor. Again, when we're able to honor the Medal of Honor recipients, again, we do want our kids to be able to participate with that. And with the museum coming into Arlington, again, we wanted that to be one of our partners.
All right, thank you. Out-of-state, out-of-country travel. Were there 2 items? Were there any questions on that?
I want to go with Trinity Travel Club.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, these kids get to do some cool stuff.
Well, are all the trips still on at this point?
We're waiting. The trips this spring are definitely in jeopardy, and they are reviewing those at this time. The reason we've been going forward is because they plan these trips so far in advance, but we are becoming concerned. They've also added addendums to what they sign up for, understanding that, heavily suggesting they take trip insurance, but also understanding that, like an EF tour trip, if you don't take the trip insurance and it cancels, you have a choice of either rescheduling, which you can reschedule, or if you take your money back, there is a loss if you don't have trip insurance. So we have been really encouraging the kids to make sure you're making a good decision when you do sign up for these trips.
Okay. We're into reports and presentations. Are there any questions on disbursements? Cooperative Program Management Fees Report. Any questions on that? It's a pretty short report there. Probably the shortest report we had all week. And now we're down to TASB policy, board policy update 117, revisions to legal policy exhibits and regulations. Any questions on Sicily? I know that was a ton of reading, so hopefully everyone got through it all.
Straight.
Okay. Action items, approval of update of 2021-2022 staffing table, new units. Ms. Tuttle?
Before I do the staffing table, I'm just going to give you a quick vacancy update since that was brought up from our auxiliary positions. So as I mentioned, 36 in CNS, 19 in transportation, 23 in maintenance and operations. We do have 8.5 teachers in elementary and then 2 ESSER teachers in elementary vacancies, and then 7 teachers in secondary and 7 ESSER secondary teachers vacancies. So tonight, we're asking you to approve 2 resource nurse positions, as well as 7 clinic assistants. The clinic assistants are for the secondary campuses, and you received in your Friday update a copy of the job description, thoroughly explaining what those will be used for, as well as the resource nurses. You also see on this staffing table some things that are reorganizations. Those don't require your approval, and we certainly wouldn't bring a staffing table to you just to show you those, but when we're bringing one forward and we have those reorgs, we go ahead and indicate them for you. So first thing is, are there any questions about the resource nurse positions or the clinic assistants?
Any questions? I think we're good.
All right.
This is an action item, so I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the new units as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve the new units as submitted. Please vote. That item passes. Approval of HVAC replacement at Harwood Junior High. Is there anything to add?
It's a bummer.
If you have any questions, I've got our HVAC expert here, Mr. Santos here.
Hey Santos, how you doing?
But as you know, we had some wind damage there, and we're having to replace.
So did it
Replace 3
did
of
it
those
tear all
units.
the way into the roof? Did it tear those pipes like through the roof decking or?
I'm not
It just tore the units off at the curb,
Okay, yeah, because
roof damage, and of course, the equipment was damaged pretty bad.
okay. See, I had one question about the proposal from American Mechanical. Unless it's already been fixed.
Yes, I checked into that. That was a typo.
Okay.
It wouldn't make much sense to purchase 4 units and only
We only
set
put in
3
3
on
of them, yeah.
it. So same price, just, they
Okay.
just updated their quote to reflect the correct number. So
All right, well, thank you for looking into that. Any other questions?
I trust you.
Thank you.
I had a question, but Mr. Chapman answered it earlier today, so.
All right, this is an action item, so I will take a motion.
I move that the board approves the purchase of 4 AAON packaged rooftop air conditioning units for Harwood Junior High.
Second?
I have a motion and a second that the board approves the purchase of 4 Aeon package rooftop air conditioning units for Harwood Junior High. Please vote.
That wasn't my question, how to pronounce it.
Okay.
You should have called Matt for that one.
Steve probably didn't know that one. Santos did.
Wind is a nasty thing.
Yeah. And that motion passes. All right, we're ready for open forum number 2. All right, right, when you come up, please state your name, and your time will start when you start speaking. You'll have 3 minutes, and your time should appear on the overhead screen just to help you stay on track. So the first speaker is Lydia Meeks.
Hi, I'm Lydia. You guys know me. I've been up here several times. I'm an alum from LD Bell. First, I want to say thank you for making updates to the Return to Learn plan. We did notice that. But please also know that that cannot be the end. We need to be more proactive. I'm here to ask you today to give us more options. You guys have taken away online learning. You're not doing a mask mandate. And we just need more options. Many parents on both sides have spoken about how this will never end, and I don't think it will. However, you guys have only given the option to the other side, and that is why I'm asking the HEB-ISD board to be creative and to be a leader for other districts facing this problem. My proposal is to create a school of choice and implement high protocol classrooms. This would create a sustainable solution regardless of the pandemic or the outside world. My whole life, I've seen how creative this district can be. And I've also seen how this district cares for the well-being of every student, so why is it so different this year? Every single day, I see posts from parents about how their child has tested positive for COVID, and no family member wants that to happen. And I know you guys can be creative. I've witnessed that my whole life. So this isn't going to go away, and no matter how much this board may want it to go away, we are still here, and we are still watching, and we are still hoping that you guys will take real action to protect these students and to protect the staff and anyone in this district. So we need a solution, and we are asking to be heard. I'm asking you for the next meeting to put it on the agenda to go over high protocol classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Leslie Lopez.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Lopez. I'm the mom of a 6-year-old. Just like Lydia, I've been here for the last several weeks, and like I told you guys last time, you'll probably continue to see me from now on. I just had to bring something up that I heard earlier in the meeting today because it's something that I am aware of. When we were talking about the virtual classrooms and that was shut down, even though there was families that registered, it was really frustrating to hear at the initial meeting where we said, you know, if it's 5,000 students, and we might not be able to afford something like that. That would be too expensive. That would be millions of dollars. But, you know, maybe if it's 500, then it's more manageable. And the next meeting, we come up, and there's 602 families that have registered. And all of a sudden, that 500 comment went away. 602 was not good enough, and it wasn't enough. So really, there was never really a clear answer as to what was that magic number. You know, you mentioned it yourself that 500 would be doable, yet 600 was not enough. Because of that reason, a lot of people have already decided to withdraw their students from the school, and it's really unfair to those families who have chose to bring or to raise or to live in the HEB district because of how good of a school district was for their families. It was very frustrating to see that. Not only that, but then it was now the mask mandate. Obviously, we know that went nowhere as well. That's not giving us an option in any way. Many people who don't believe in COVID or don't believe in masks have said, oh, but no kids have died. Well, you know that's wrong. And anybody that is aware of this knows that that is wrong. Kids have died. And if you're waiting until one kid from our school district dies before it makes a difference, so maybe one is not good enough. Maybe it's going to take 5 or 10, or maybe let's get to like 50% so it makes a difference. But to me, I think one is already too much. Maybe that's just me. And that's not even thinking that that would be my child. Lord forbid that that were the case, okay? So to me, if that doesn't matter, I just have to bring it up how significant one is more than enough. Now, you don't want a mask mandate, okay, there's other options, but what options have been taken? You know, there's yes, I'm very appreciative as well that the Return to Learn plan was brought up. However, there's still a lot of schools who have not been implemented. It hasn't been pushed. It was posted on the website, but we're ready for the schools to be educated on that. A lot of the schools are still not following that protocol, just so that you know, and I'm sure you're probably aware. The other thing is, just so that you know,
I didn't just come here to complain, but nothing was done. Nobody's more responsible for my child's health and life than myself. So I saw myself in the position where I had to withdraw my child. So he is no longer a part of the schools, and that's really frustrating and upsetting. He was a top of the class student. His own principal said it, that he would be missed. He was a part of Suzuki Strings. It was doing amazing. We sacrificed it all. That's the reason we moved here, was so that he could be a part of it. And it's not my child, but I hope you look at your withdrawal numbers so that you realize how important every child that has withdrawn up to now matters. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're into other business. Opportunity for board members to request an item be placed on a future agenda.
So I would like to request an item for the next agenda, and that would be an update on the Return to Learn plan that was put out on September 3rd. Specifically, what I'm most interested in is the plan involving remote conferencing and how that's being rolled out. You know, TEA has given us very specific guidelines as far as synchronous instruction that we have to follow. And, you know, I would just like to know, you know, the plan is, my understanding is that we would try to staff it with former HEB ISC teachers. I'd like to know how that staffing plan is going. I'd like to know the cost, how we're grouping the kids, what sort of virtual classrooms we're making as the kids come online who are in quarantine, you know, how that instruction is being delivered, you know, what percentage of the students who are eligible to enroll are actually enrolling, and how many of those kids we're capturing. And I think it would be valuable and beneficial for us to hear an update on that at the next meeting. I'd request that somebody else second that.
I'll second. I agree. I'd like to know more information about that as well, Chris.
Thanks, Fred.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to add that to the next agenda, so I will discuss that with Mr. Chapman, and we'll get that worked out. Anything else?
I would like an update from Julia Harris's group on, since we started back to school, how many kids the mental health and the social workers have, I want to say attended to, but I want to know how many kids at every level, at elementary, junior high, and high school, that they've had to go and talk to or take care of, refer to Springwood, and just kind of a breakdown of all of that since school started. I know we're just a little bit in, but I'd like an update on what her staff and have been
Can
doing.
we get that information to you in a Friday update, or do you want a formal presentation?
I think I would like a formal presentation, please.
I'll second. I'd like to know how much they're being used, you know, do we need more? Or do we have too many? And I'd like to know, really, having been an educator, why are they seeing them? You know, is it grades, or is it home life, or is it actually COVID? You know, I'd like to know a little bit more information too. Maybe we can utilize them a little bit better if we know the problems and maybe what schools are using them the most and where they're needed the most.
Yeah, I'm curious at the elementary level if there is a great need for them to go out and, you know, actually be there on the campuses. But then the secondary, the junior high kids especially, I think just parents that I've talked to, or, you know, a few principals, they've had a lot of calls already at a couple of the junior highs.
Yeah, we probably need to go ahead and capture the communities and schools, because that really is more now, because Julia and them are doing the crisis, going out as a crisis team, but we probably need to capture the community schools, mental health providers, and how many students they're seeing, because they've kind of taken that role on at each of the campuses now.
I think with the addition of counselors that we added, I think that's too, I would like to know if that's helping. And I know that's, you know, they're not forever money. So if we need to start looking towards that several years down the road, if we need to keep them. Thank you.
All right. Okay, anything additional? All right, well, that is it for other business, and now we will adjourn into closed session. Oh, board activity chart. Yeah, I looked at it. Yeah, I didn't see anything that was not accounted for on the board activity chart. If anybody has anything or didn't get a chance to look at it, it'll be right here until the end of the meeting, so just let me know.
Are we all going to toss a Tasby except Andy and Chris?
I'm not going.
Okay. So we also, at your place, there is the slide deck for the Board Ambassador Academy, Session 1. So it has each of your names, and following your name, there'll be the section that I've assigned to you to cover for the class. So if you have any questions on that, or if you need to, ask me any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and we can discuss kind of what needs to be gone over. I think most of us have done this multiple times, but, if there are any questions, please let me know.
You gave me the hardest part.
You're up for it, right? You told me you're up for it. I'm counting on you, Rochelle.
I looked, I was like, oh my gosh, you gave me the hardest part. I'm on it.
President Romero, I did have my first leadership TASB virtual meeting, and I will be getting more of a update of my assignment during TASB. I'm not 100% sure that I will be attending this, although I would certainly like to.
Okay.
So I should know the answer to that probably this week.
Yeah, well, if you're not able to attend, just let me know, and I'll reassign your part, or, okay. Okay, so at this time, the board will adjourn into closed session. Pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551, board will adjourn into closed session for purposes of Section 551.071 to 551.074. I have not.
That's what I need to know. I'm excited for it. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
On the very last speaker,
I'm too big to speak about, so.
Go ahead. Oh,
we'll get Bill back as a guest speaker at the very end.
Oh, in Fort Worth? Last session?
No, last session.
It'll be a while.
go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, go ahead. I got my ice packs on my legs. I gotta take them off. Go ahead, Steve. I'll be there in a second.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good. I just had them tied around my legs so they wouldn't. One, two.
guys are welcome to wait. They're just gonna come back and adjourn.
Okay.
But you're welcome to wait as long as you like.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you letting us know.
You bet. Have a great evening.
Okay, thank you for bringing us to.
I think this group looks pretty